Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports Board coming to you today with college football coaches on the hot seat. Before I continue, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. Really try and go to the channel, so go ahead and do that. College football coaches on the hot seat. I got 21 college football coaches that should be on the hot seat, in my opinion. Um, I'm going to go through each one, tell you if I think they're going to get fired or not. 21 names here, coaches that are on my hot seat or at least on my radar that won't be surprised they get fired. So let's get right into it since we have 21 coaches. I'm kind of just going to go through each coach, tell you what I think about the situation, and go from there. So we'll kick it off. I went conference by each conference. So we'll kick off with the ACC, Boston College. We'll kick off with Jeff Hafley, 15 and 20 over 3 seasons there at Boston College. I do think he gets canned at the end of the year. Boston College fires Steve Adizio for basically going 6-6 every year. Jeff Hafley's been worse than that. Boston College is not that much of a talented team. This year, if you look at their talent, it's just not there, in my opinion. I think they're going to be due for a rough season. Things have just not really worked out for Jeff Hafley at Boston College. I think he gets let go at the end of the season. Next is Syracuse, Dino Babers, 36 and 49 overall. He did enough last year to keep his job. Remember last year, he was basically told bowl game or you're gone. They went 7-5. Syracuse did. They did lose the bowl game at 7-6. I do think overall, um, it's one of these damn if you do, damn if you don't situations with Dino Babers. I will keep him as long as it doesn't completely face plant at like 3-9, 2-10. I don't think it will. You gotta remember Syracuse. Looking at the future of Syracuse, it's possible the ACC becomes extinct in the next 10 years or so. You look at Syracuse. They're probably gonna be destined for the Big 12 most likely. I think they do have a shot to get into the Big 10, but I'm thinking probably destined for the Big 12 most likely. So look at Syracuse. I mean, it's just one of those situations. I think you just keep Dino Babers as long as he's at least making bowl games half the time. I think you gotta live with that if you're Syracuse. You gotta know who you are if your Syracuse football program is more of a basketball school. You got as a football program, you're basically a borderline bowl team every year. So that's what Syracuse is. Dina Babers is hitting that mark. So I think he stays at the end of the day as long as they at least go 5-7. So I think Dina Babers stays. Next is Virginia's Tony Elliott. 3-7 in his first year. I don't think he gets fired. The reason why he's on my list is because I said from the get go when ranking the head coaching hires for college football, it wasn't going to work. The Tony Elliott experiment here at Virginia wasn't going to work. And I think that's being shown. Now, granted, they had a big tragedy at the end of the year there at Virginia, um, which is very sad. So I'm going to give Tony Elliott a pass year one. Um, and but I think he stays no matter what this season. But I think next year that season's gonna be very hot. You already have. I mean, you can tell those internal turmoil there, blaming assistant coaches basically for struggles on the field. I said this hire wasn't going to work so far. I think I've been proven right. I'm going to give him a pass because of what happened at the end of the year. I think he gets a pass this year. But overall, uh, Tony Elliott should be on the hot seat. Looking at the ACC, other coaches, I consider Brent Fry at Virginia Tech. I actually think I liked that hire at the time. I still do. Virginia Tech is just a tough situation. Justin Fournette really he probably overstayed a year. Justin Fournette and Virginia Tech's paying for that. It's a rebuilding job for Virginia Tech. So he's not. I don't think Brent Fry deserves to be on the hot seat, but he probably will be next year if it's another bad season at Virginia Tech. But that was really the only ever name I looked at and thought about putting on the hot seat. I think Mario Cristobal has at least 3 years at Miami, so that's the hot seat for the ACC. Now to the American, we'll kick off with Memphis's Ryan Silverfield. Keep an eye on this one. You might look at the record 21-16, but they've been underwhelming the past 2 seasons. I actually do think one of my bold takes is going to be Ryan Silverfield gets fired because I think he does, and he might not even last the season. If they get off to a slow start, watch out for this job becoming open. There's been reports in the past few days that they've been flirting with the Big 12. We'll see what happens there. If I'm the Big 12, I would add Memphis, honestly. But I mean, you're kind of a big fish in the American now. If you're Memphis, you really, I mean, both in football and basketball. So looking at Memphis, Ryan Silverfield, I think he gets canned at some point throughout the season. I'll make a prediction. He doesn't even last the whole season there, so I think he gets canned. And then at Rice, a new member there in the American race, Mike Bloomgreen, 1639 overall. This is a big season for them. The good news is that they bring back a bunch of starters. The bad news is that they go ahead and they're probably a bomb half talent wise in their new conference, the American. They'll probably bomb half talent wise. They do bring in in my opinion, a Power 5 quarterback from the transfer portal, and JT Daniels. I think that would help out some. But I think it's bowl or bust for Rice, honestly. And to be honest, if they struggle in conference play, which I think they somewhat will, I think Mike Bloomgreen could be out of a job. I think honestly he will be let go at the end of the season. I don't think there's really any excuses for Rice to not make a bowl game, honestly. So Mike Bloomgreen and Ryan Silverfield, I think both get canned at the end of the season. Now to the Big 12. Dana Holgorsen at Houston, 27-23 his first 4 years. I don't think he gets canned at the end of the year, even though I do think Houston will struggle some this year, getting used to the Big 12. You look at Houston. Um, Ever since Dan Hogan's been there, it's been underwhelming. I mean that's just my honest opinion there. It's been underwhelming. He's 27-20 over his 4 years at Houston. He had that one great season where they won 10, 11 games. Last season I felt like was a bit of a disappointment. That was a team that I thought could have easily made a New Year's Six bowl. Um, but you look at Houston, um, they're going to be getting adjusted to the Big 12. Dana Holgorsen has coached in the Big 12 before. Remember, West Virginia fans really don't like him for whatever reason, and I think West Virginia fans are kind of regretting that right now a little bit. But Dana Holgorsen, 27-20 over 4 years. I think he stays. Next is Texas, Steve Sarkisian, 13-12 through 2 seasons. One of my bold predictions is that Steve Sarkisian gets fired at the end of the year for Texas. I am not buying into this hype for Texas at all, with them winning 10, 11 games this season, possibly even making the college football playoffs, a few people might think. Now, granted, there is no excuse for with this offense not to win at least 9 games, in my opinion. I don't think they win 9 games. I think they're probably going 8-4, maybe even 7-5. And I think Steve Sarkisian gets canned at the end of the year. I don't. I said it at the time. I felt like it was a downgrade of head coach compared to Tom Herman, um, which by the way he's back at FAU. I'll talk about that in the new head coaching video. New head coach hires for college football here. Hopefully, I'll get that video out within the next week or so. But overall, Steve Sarkisian, I think he gets canned at the end of the year. It's a bold prediction, I get it, but that that's one of my bold predictions this year. I think he gets canned. I think Texas only wins 7, 8 games, and he gets canned at the end of the year. West Virginia, Neil Brown, 22-25 overall. I do think Neil Brown gets canned at the end of the year. That West Virginia team is just very not that good, per se, talent wise. I mean, you look at them up and down the roster. I mean, the good news is that here's the good news. You do bring back your whole O line. I think that will help out some. You do have an All Pro center there at West Virginia as well, but on that O line, but I just don't think it's enough. I think West Virginia, they're going to struggle to make a bowl game. It's a tough schedule. And at the end of the day, I think Neil Brown probably gets canned. Um, and they're going to be looking for a new head coach there at West Virginia. I don't think it's completely Neil Brown's fault per se. To be honest, I think West Virginia is in the wrong conference. If you want my honest opinion, I think West Virginia will fit more in the ACC or the SEC. If you want my honest opinion, but West Virginia, 22-25 for Neil Brown over these past 4 years. I think he gets canned at the end of the year. So I think 2 out of 3 coaches here get canned. No one else really on the hot seat for the Big 12. In my opinion, I mean, you look at Kansas; they're hanging off on the right track. You're looking at the only coach I will throw this out here. The only coach I will throw out there that I could see maybe the school parting ways with him is Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, because remember they lost like their final 5-6 games down the stretch. If that thing turns bad, like a 2-3 win season, I could see that possibly a new hire there at Oklahoma State. That's the only like real place where I could see change. So besides the 3 I mentioned, so but that's the Big 12 for you. Now to the Big 10. Indiana, Tom Allen, 30 and 40 overall. I think Tom Allen gets canned at the end of the year. As a matter of fact, I think Indiana's dumb if they don't can Tom Allen, if you want my honest opinion. Um, I would have canned him last year, if you want my. I don't care that they beat Michigan State. Like, yeah, they beat Michigan State. That saved his job. I would still can them. I think Indiana's heading to some really dark times in their football history, if you want my honest opinion. Um, and a lot of it's because of Tom Allen. I mean, just an old school coach. I mean, just not really a guy that is very innovative. I mean, the one guy that was innovative on the staff, it had some people are predicting that team to make the college football playoffs out there in Washington. So Tom Allen, I think he gets canned at the end of the year. Matter of fact, I'll tell you this right now. I'll be surprised if Indiana wins more than 3 games. So they really need to pull off an upset or two, I think. I just don't think it's going to happen. Tom Allen can. Rutgers, Greg Schiano, 12 and 22 in his second stint there at Rutgers. I don't think he gets canned. I think the administration and boosters like him. I think he's going to give. I still think the leash is going to be long there. At the end of the day, um, I mean, Rutgers is in the Big Ten. They're going to be a bomb feeder in the Big Ten. They've made one bowl game because of academics since being in the Big Ten. The only thing I would say is maybe make bowl games a bit more consistently. But to be honest, the standard of Rutgers is going to be 4 or 5 wins in the Big Ten, especially once USC and UCLA comes in. I think more teams are going to be joining the Big Ten, such as Washington, Oregon, eventually. It's just one of those things that you gotta hope things go right. Things have to bounce the right way for Rutgers to make a bowl game there. Now, I will say this, at least about Rutgers, they are recruiting better than recent years, but uh, overall, Greg Schiano, you gotta put him on the hot seat. But I think he stays. I think as long as Rutgers wins at least 4 or 5 games, I think he stays, which I think they will. So I think Shiano stays. And then Northwestern's Pat Fitzgerald. It's been rough the past 2-3 years, but I think he stays. It's gonna be rough again this year, I think, but I think he stays. I do think that he's 110 and 101 overall. I think he will lead the season with a below 500 record, possibly. I mean, actually, he'll have to go. Maybe not. He'll have to go 0-12, I think, to have that record of a below 500 record. But I think it gets tight, that record, from going below 500. But I think he stays. I think the school believes in him. To be honest, as long as they could find a quarterback, if you really look at that, how they coach and everything, they could definitely fight for bowl eligibility. That's what it really comes down to. You look at Northwestern. I mean, I think as long as Pat Fitzgerald is there, you got to at least give them a fighting chance to make a bowl game. So I think it's gonna be a rough season again, but they gotta find that quarterback. So Pat Fitzgerald there, I think he stays. Other Big Ten coaches, looking at the whole Big Ten as a whole, there's always that Ryan Day goes to the NFL type deal there. He's not gonna get fired from Ohio State, people. So stop saying he's on the hot seat. If he leaves, it's because he gets an NFL job. I go ahead. I look at Mel Tucker and Michigan State. The buyout is just too big. I'm just being honest. The buyout is just too big. But he needs to really show something here in the next 2-3 years. Mel Tucker. That season cannot be a fluke. That 2021 season cannot be a fluke if you're Mel Tucker. And then you always have to keep in the back of your head Kirk Ferentz retiring. You always got to keep that in the back of your head as well. So that's the Big Ten. Now for the Conference USA, Dana Dimmel, 1740 overall at UTEP. I do think he gets let go at the end of the year, and it's not so much because they're not hitting expectations. It's a tough place to win at. I can see UTEP easily at least winning 4 or 5 games. As a matter of fact, I can see UTEP making a bowl game of them and still UTEP deciding to let go of Dana Dimmel. I just think it's time for a change there. Maybe get a young guy in there. You're in the Conference USA. It's a small conference. I mean, outside of Liberty, is really anybody's up for grabs type of deal to get second place. Because I think Liberty's going to run that conference year in and year out as long as they're in it with the amount of money they have paying into football and stuff. But you look at UTEP, um, as I mean, I think Dana Dimel gets let go. I think they probably miss a bowl game, and Dana Dimel gets let go. He had that one nice 7-6 season, but outside of that, it's really been a disaster. So I think he gets let go. No one else really in the Conference USA came to my mind, really, when looking at head coaches when researching the video for this. Next to the MAC, Bowling Green, Scott Leffler, 13-29 overall. The question is, was last year a fluke? They went 5-7 last year. You might be like, oh, 5-7. That is his best season there. Scott Leffler's best season. Can they at least repeat that? If they can at least repeat that, he stays. If it's a 2-10, I think he's gone. And I'm leaning towards a 2-10 there at Bowling Green. I know it's kind of tough to win there. But at the same time, Scott Leffler has kind of just been a disaster at Bowling Green. So 13-29 overall. I think he gets let go of the end of the year. Ball State's Mike New, 33-48. I think Mike New gets let go at the end of the year. Remember, Ball State, if you look at them, they lost their final 3 or 4 games down the stretch there in November. Kind of some ugly losses as well. If that spills into this season, this 2023 season, I think Mike New might not even last the whole season. But I think Mike New does get fired there at Ball State. I think the writing's on the wall, if you want my honest opinion. And Ball State would be looking for a new head coach. Northern Illinois' Thomas Hammock, 17-27. It always seems like Northern Illinois, they're one of the better programs usually in the MAC, but it's been kind of up and down there. I do think Thomas Hammock keeps his job probably, as long as they make a bowl game, which I think they will. Um, but overall, Northern Illinois, it just needs more consistency there for Thomas Hammock. I mean, if it continues to be inconsistent, he will probably be let go eventually. But I think Mike Hammock keeps his job there. A few other MAC coaches, Chris Crayon. I think he stays, Chris Crayon. That's why I didn't put him on here. You look around the MAC, basically. Um, I mean, the MAC is you gotta view the MAC a bit differently than some of these other conferences because the resources aren't just there, and the teams tend to just beat up on each other. So you kind of have to look at the MAC differently. But the only other name I would consider is Chris Crane, but I think he keeps his job as long as it's not a disaster. Now to the Mountain West, New Mexico. Dan Gonzalez, 7-24 overall. I mean, listen, that record, I gotta put you in the hot seat. I mean, 7-24 overall record there for Dan Gonzalez. He probably gets let go at the end of the year. New Mexico, kind of a bomb feeder in the Mountain West. Always, I don't remember the last time I think they had one like 9-win season in the past like 5, 6 years ago, but outside of that, really have just been a bomb feeder. Um, you look around the Mountain West. I mean, it's possible Boise State goes to the Big 12 and San Diego State goes to the Pac 12. More opportunities for New Mexico possibly in that conference, depending on who they add in the Mountain West. If they stay at 10, there's definitely opportunities. If they do, I think they should go out and get North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, and someone else, then there's not going to be many opportunities there for New Mexico, in my opinion. But looking at I think Dan Gonzalez, he gets let go at the end of the year. I looked around the Mountain West as well. Um, I mean, maybe. I mean, just looking around, there'll probably be another head coach that gets let go at the end of the year in the Mountain West, but I just couldn't put my finger on who. But Dan Gonzalez is the one guy. that I think absolutely should be on the hot seat. I think he will be let go at the end of the year. Now to the Pac-12. I only think one coach should be on the hot seat for the Pac-12, and that's Justin Wilcox. And I do think Justin Wilcox will not be the Cal coach next year. Not so much because he gets fired. I think possible he leaves, just resigns after this year. Cal, the administration at Cal has really made it tough for Wilcox to win there. And you look at this Cal team; it's a good staff. As a matter of fact, they bring back a bunch of starters throughout the year if you're for this upcoming season. Like they could surprise some people this year, Cal. But you look at Wilcox. I mean, 30-36 over his tenure there at Cal. It's just been tough. I mean, they ran Sonny Dykes out the building there at Cal after 3 seasons, which looks really dumb right now. If you're Cal, but overall, I think Wilcox actually just resigns on his own and either takes another Power Five job, or becomes like a big time offensive coordinator. Um, you look at I mean, Cal really just has to get off to a quick start, in my opinion. The first two games are on the road against North Texas and Auburn. If they gotta win that game against North Texas, in my opinion. That's really going to be a telltale sign Wilcox survives the season, which I think he will no matter what. But I think Wilcox, I actually think he resigns at the end of the year. I don't think he gets let go. I think he resigns there at Cal. Other coaches in the Pac-12 I looked at. I mean, there's really no one else. I mean, there really isn't. Um, the only situation I could see that is if it really gets bad, maybe Razoo, but I don't think it will. So I mean, Arizona, they're building something great there. Arizona State has a first-year head coach. Colorado has a first-year head coach in Deion Sanders. So, um, Cal, especially Wilcox, Stanford has a first year head coach. So Wilcox was the only guy I saw, I thought to be on the hot seat. But I think he resigns at the end of the year. Honestly, Florida's Billy Napier now to the SEC, 6-7 in his first year. It's not Billy Napier's fault he went 6-7. I mean, it's clear as day now why they got rid of Dan Mullen. Because Dan Mullen just couldn't recruit the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Florida States, the Miamis of the world. Hell, he couldn't even really recruit the Auburns of the world. But Napier, he has to show you something the second year. If it's a 5-7 season, it would not surprise me if they just decide to let him go. I do think Billy Napier can coach. This might not be a fair situation, honestly, to Billy Napier early on. I would suggest the Florida fans be patient. I do think he stays for at least a third season. But this is, I mean, if it doesn't go anywhere after 3 years, you gotta think like they're gonna think about letting Billy Napier go. If it gets disaster mode this year, like 3-4 wins, they're probably gonna let him go. So Florida's Billy Napier, I put him on here, but I don't think he gets let go. Missouri's Eli Drinkridge, 17-19 overall record. I'm torn with this one. Eli Drinkridge, I think, should be fired at the end of the year, if you want my honest opinion, even if it is like a 6-6 season, per se. But at the same time, with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC, Missouri's got one of the bomb fears in the SEC when it comes to football. They just are. That's how it is, especially with them getting rid of divisions. Eli Drinkridge is recruiting the best Missouri has ever recruited there at Missouri. Um, if he and he's good, I think he's good for that program because he tends to steal headlines with his post game conferences and press conferences and stuff. It might be best just to keep him around as long as he's at least like on the fringe of making bowl games. If you want my honest opinion, but I would let him go personally. I think he stays another year. I do. I mean, as long as it doesn't turn to a complete disaster, I think he stays another year, but it would not surprise me if he gets let go. And of course, Texas A&M's Jimbo Fisher, 39-21 overall record there. He stays. Jimbo Fisher. The buyout's too big. A and B. I actually think Texas A&M bounces back some. I think they can win 8, 9 games. So I think Jimbo Fisher stays. I think now, granted, last year was a complete disaster. I think this year's an 8, 9 win season. As a matter of fact, it will not. I've already seen them in some top 25 polls. They're not going to be in my top 25 poll per se, but they're probably going to get honorable mention. Texas A&M, the Aggies, they're going to be a decent team this year. They will be probably in top the AP top 25 polls at some point throughout the season. So, and people are predicting them to beat Alabama this year as well during their season predictions. I haven't came out with my predictions yet, but people are doing that. So I think Jimbo's going to be fine at Texas A&M. And then to the Sun Belt, Arkansas State, Bush Jones. I think he gets let go. It's just not working out there. Um, his second try of being a head coach, I guess you could call, it, even though he was a head coach at Cincinnati and Tennessee before, but his it's just not working out. 5-19 overall record. I think he gets let go. The Sun Belt is probably the best Group of 5 conference right now when it comes to football, and I could see several other coaches possibly getting let go. I look at UL Monroe. I look at Georgia State. Sean Elliott at Georgia State. I'm just actually put him in on the list, but I actually think Sean Elliott is a good coach. I don't think he gets let go. And Bowden there at UL Monroe coaches to look at as well. But I think Bush Jones definitely gets canned at the end of the year. So those are my 21 coaches there on the hot seat for college football. Comment down below. Tell me if you think I missed a coach. I'm always interested to hear everybody's opinion. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Great appreciate if you do that. McD the Beast signing off.